Hey, 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 welcome everybody to this edition of Turnaround Marriage Live. We're so glad you're joining us, and we want to talk about a subject that's near and dear to our hearts and really is the root core that a lot of couples out there are struggling with, and that is dealing with conflict. And if you've been out there and you feel like, boy, we've read books, we've gone to conferences, we know what it should look like, we've heard great sermons, I've been praying, and yet time after time, you keep finding yourselves stuck in conflict. We want to dive into that today. And if you're out there, make sure, if you're on Facebook, make sure that you find us, like and subscribe to us on our coaching page, as well as make sure you join our group, Turnaround Marriage. You search Turnaround Marriage, you're going to find both groups. And if you are on YouTube, make sure you do like and subscribe, and definitely share our videos, because there's others out there that need to hear this too.
Yes. We are Scott and Rachel. We do help committed Christian couples finally end the cycles of conflict and disconnection and reclaim the love, passion, and playfulness that they once had. And I know you didn't get married so that you could have a fighting partner, somebody to have conflict with endlessly. And so we want to talk today about the worst possible time to resolve conflict in your marriage. What is the very worst time to do it? So we're going to dive into that in just a second. So
one of them is probably going to church when you're about to go to church.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about today.
That's true. That brings back so many memories.
Yes, it does.
The enemy seems to definitely be on the forefront on Sunday mornings for sure. But yeah, we want to talk about this because this is a big reason that clients come to us for help. And I want to ask you a question. Have you found yourself in a discussion with your spouse about something, the schedule, preferences, the children, the itinerary, the grandkids, whatever it might be, and suddenly this discussion starts to turn a little bit into a disagreement, and then the disagreement, discussion, then this disagreement can suddenly now start to turn into a full-blown argument, and then it might even escalate where there's voices being raised, maybe name calling, and it can turn into full-blown contempt. And so, if you've been in this pattern for a long time in your marriage where any little discussion can quickly escalate and your brain gets activated in that fight or flight mode where it's like your heart is racing and your breathing is faster, and you're in that heightened awareness where you're like, okay, wait, bring it on. Like, I got my gloves out, not physically, but figuratively. This is for you, because we're here to tell you, if that has been your pattern, there is a reason that this has been the vicious cycle, and we're going to show you how to break it as well.
Yeah, you're so right. It's like if you're bracing for impact and impact doesn't really come, or impact does come, either way, you both can feel that you're in a very different energy, and it feels yuck to you. You're putting off that yuck to the other person. You're anticipating the conflict. And it's like you're in that constant place of really, it's a bad place, in a constant bad place. And if you're in that space, if you're in that frustration, you're in that anticipation of there being a blow up. If you are coming to that discussion with anger or even sadness or loneliness, whatever heightened negative emotion that you have, you are absolutely bringing that right into the middle, front and forefront of that conversation. And suddenly, whatever you're talking about isn't actually what you're talking about. I don't care if it's the kids or the finances or anything else. You're actually talking about the disconnect between you. And it's even worse when that bad place has fear as the main feeling, or it's mixed in with it. And usually, I'd say men too, but really that's a heightened place that a woman tends to feel a little bit more. She feels like maybe it's a hopeless situation, that her husband doesn't care about her. It kind of goes back to the curse that her desire will be for her husband. And when she doesn't have that connection, it's really frightful for her. And guys, this is what I want you to hear. If you're out there and you realize we've been stuck, we've been going in these cycles round and round and round. It is not COVID. It is not the finances. It is not getting eye to eye about the kids that is keeping you stuck in the conflict. You might be thinking that it's the subject matter that you've gotten lost on. We hear it all the time also. Like, politically, we're different now. We see things different politically. Heck, I see things different politically than I did 6 months ago, right? Like, we live in a crazy time. And so if you are thinking that we have to navigate these issues, that's not it. So get back to the question. When is the worst time to resolve conflict? when you're in those heightened emotions, when you are angry, frustrated, lonely, afraid. So what do you do?
Yeah. Well, and let's just describe why really quick
Yeah.
before we talk about the what, because
Please.
when you're in that heightened state, you are literally in fight or flight. You cannot access the front part of your brain where you can access the logic, the reasoning, the critical thinking, the problem solving skills, the ability to be able to listen and to respond to your spouse in an understanding way. Instead, you're literally in a fight response or a flight response. And here's the thing that happens. Almost always you have two people that are complete opposites in this area that tend to get married. One of them likes to fight. The other one likes to flee. Right. And so you've got this withdrawal and this pursuit game that goes on. And this is the dance that we describe a lot in some of our videos. And we did that dance for many, many years. It's like, I want to resolve it. You don't want to. You want to de-escalate.
Wait, why are you pointing fingers at me? How do you know?
Well, this was our pattern.
And,
that's the thing. Yeah. If you're in the heightened fight or flight mode, that is the worst time to try to resolve conflict because you're not in a resourceful state. Yes. You're not in a problem-solving state. You can't even access that part of your brain that does those functions. You're just ready to fight or run, right? And so the first thing that you've got to do is get yourself in a resourceful state. So it might look like a cooling off period. It might look like, you know what? Let's talk about this tonight at 11, or no, maybe not 11. That's probably too late. But but putting a time frame on it so that you guys do have the cooling off phase and you can get out of that heightened response and put yourself in a more problem solving, a more listening, a more open state of mind.
You're spot on with that. You're so right. And if you're in that place where you are bracing yourself, you're probably preparing throughout the day. And even if you do have a cooling off period, which is ideal if you can get there, better yet is showing up for the day that way. Anticipating ahead of time, not that you're going to decide not to walk in fear. You're not going to walk in that frustration. You're truly going to give everything to the Lord. You're really going to seek him at the beginning of the day. You're really going to try to walk in a better place and walk in thankfulness and gratefulness. That can really be a big change in terms of what it's going to look like between the two of you. Because here's the heart of it, guys. If you are showing up and you've got heightened emotions, you can never, ever, ever, ever solve that problem. You cannot solve that conflict when everybody's all upset. You just can't. Because your mind isn't wired at that time to figure it out. You're not using logic, as Rachel was saying. You're using the part of your brain that just wants to escape, that just wants to survive, if you will. And that doesn't mean like I'm running for my life. It just means that you are only thinking about your own self benefit in that moment. You're not really even thinking about the consequences of decisions. You're not thinking through everything. And it's just this big whirlwind of confusion about all the things that you're fighting about. Mm-hmm. When in reality, you're not even fighting about those things. You're fighting about the fact that you're disconnected and you don't feel close to the other person. That's the heart of it. Yeah. So to get that connection back again and to solve that conflict, people think we just need to battle it out. And you do need to talk about it, no question. But you have to get out of that escape. She's really mad. I want to get away from her. We just need to calm. All that whole chasing stuff all of this is a recipe for things not working, not resolving them.
Yeah, it's so true, Scott. And it's like, and the person who wants to pursue and like, let's handle this. Let's resolve this.
Usually the woman.
Usually not in always. Our case it is. I think it can go either way, but that's not wrong. It's not wrong to want to resolve it. And for the person who wants to withdraw and say, gosh, you know what? No, I can't fight about this right now. Just don't talk to me. But that's not wrong either. What's wrong is when you demand your own way in the heat of the moment and you want your way right now. Right. And that's where the sin can get in. It's like my way or the highway. Let's resolve this now. But when you're in that state, like Scott said, you're in the fight or flight part of your brain. Your amygdala is ringing the alarm bells off, and your heart's racing. You're sweaty. You're shallow breathing. Your face is probably in a not saying too many nice things. And in those heats of those kinds of moments is when the words that fly out of our tongue can be so cutting and so damaging. And those are the times when women can say things like, I never loved you anyway. Or a husband can say, I'm done, I'm leaving, or vice versa. And those are the heat of the moment is when we say the things we would never say again, because we're operating in that back part of our brain. We're not accessing the critical thinking and reasoning. Right. And so the very first thing you've got to do, and one of the things we really work heavily on our clients with, is using your body, your mind, your heart, your soul to be able to put yourself in a more resourceful state, in a more empowered state, in a more calm state, in a more problem-solving state, so that you can resolve this conflict as a team and really get to the root of the issue. So guys, if that's you, if you're struggling with this, if you found yourself in this vicious cycle and it's like yelling matches and, just arguments, or just you've stopped talking about certain things because it's just like, it's why bother? We keep rehashing the same stuff. We want to encourage you, go ahead and check out our masterclass. It's the 5 simple shifts Christian couples can make to get a turnaround in their marriage and completely fall back in love again. So we want to offer that to you. It's our free masterclass. You can go to turnaroundmarriage.com/class and check that out. It'll be some of the best 45 minutes you spend investing. We show you about stress. We show you about the conflict and fighting. We show you about what happens in the mind. And so that's a resource for you.
Yes. And we've had a lot of people that have watched it and found it to be very, very helpful because we talk about this a little bit more in depth. And that is really what you're thinking, how you're showing up. And it really does matter, because oftentimes it's like we know as a Christian what we ought to look like, how we ought to act, but we don't know how to get there when it's like, she doesn't seem to be playing fair. He seems to be, in attack mode. And it's like, well, what's going on here? And what needs to happen is continually getting in putting on the new man, continually putting on the better resourceful state, such that even if a bad situation comes up or a conflict comes up, you can still maybe need a breather, but still go back to who you are and the best version of you, and to show up that way. And so that's absolutely what we talk about, that masterclass. So please check that out at turnaroundmarriage.com/class. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we shall talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.